Today on Backroads DIY, I'm going to show you how to paint this basketball court on my driveway step by step. So let's get into it. Welcome to Backroads DIY. Today we're going to be painting a basketball court here on our driveway. Growing up, I had my driveway painted. I played basketball all through high school. My son's really into basketball. He's going to be trying out for the school team here this next year. And I'm going to be painting him three-point line, free throw line, and just going through all it takes to do that, including all the prep, all of the materials. So you're going to need a ladder to start out with. And then what I picked up at Lowe's was this zone marking paint. Our driveway was not very well taken care of by the previous owner. It's been sealed a few times, but it's had a bunch of cracks and stuff in it. So I'm hoping that this adheres well. You can probably use any exterior paint, but I would recommend going to the paint section at your local store and asking them what they prefer. But I thought this zone marking paint would work well. I got a little 2-inch roller. You can do this with a brush. You don't have to use a roller. The lines themselves are 2 inches wide. So I thought this would be an easy way to do it. I have a square here. I'm going to use this for marking out my 90-degree angles. You don't have to do this, but I'm a little bit anal, so I'm going to do that. Paracord. So you can use kind of any string that's not stretchy. So I chose paracord just when you pull on it, it's not going to change the length whenever we start marking out our radiuses for like the three-point line and the top of the free throw line. Plumb bob. You don't have to have a plumb bob specifically. You can tie something heavy, a nut or a washer or something on the end of a string, but we're going to use this to find our center points for some critical measurements that we're going to be doing. I have a just piece of wood with a nail on the end. This whole project would be easier with 2 people, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this as my center point whenever I drop my plumb bob, put some weight on the back of this, and then I'm just going to attach my paracord to this, and this will be kind of my pivot point. I'll show you more of that later. I also have some red lead pencils. You can use chalk or something, but I have these. They show up well on the blacktop. So I'm going to be using these, attaching these to the paracord and to the pivot point to mark out where I need to put the tape lines, and then tape. So I'm just using Scotch blue tape. This is the 0.94 inch. You don't want to use the really thick stuff, because when you're trying to twist it around a radius, the thinner it is, the less likely it's going to want to bunch up and crease. And then lastly, one of the most important things is going to be our plans. So I searched through the internet, Googled high school basketball court dimensions. There were a bunch of different ones out there. These are the 2 that I feel are the best, and I will link these down in the description, but I'm going to use a combination of both papers just because not one piece of paper does not have all of the measurements that I need on it. So I'm just going to refer back to both of these. All right, now that we've got all of our materials covered, I'm going to set you up in a tripod. I'm going to hop up on the ladder here, and one of the first measurements we're going to do, actually we're going to do 3 measurements, is we're going to hang the plumb bob from the middle of the goal all the way down to the ground. We're going to mark that point, and then we're going to measure or drop the plumb bob from each corner of the backboard straight down, because most of our measurements come from those 3 points. The free throw line comes off the backboard. The three-point line comes off the middle point of the, let's see if I can find it here on a piece of paper. Yeah. So the three-point line comes off the center of the goal, and you can see the 15-foot mark here comes from the edge of the backboard. So I'm going to set you up on a tripod. I'm going to climb up on the ladder, and I'm going to mark those 3 points, and then I'll come back and show you what those look like. All right, let me take you up here and show you what I got. So I lowered the basketball goal just so it'd be easier. But what I did, not sure the best way to see this. If I stick you up here in the net, maybe you can see this point right here where they all cross. What I did, actually, let me do it. Put it here on the ladder. Might be a little easier. Is I ran strings from opposite sides all the way across, and their intersecting point will be where I tie the plumb bob to the top of it to, and then it'll hang straight down and find my center point down on the ground. So I'm gonna hop back down here, move back over to the tripod, and get that set up, and then I'll show you what it looks like with the plumb bob hanging. All right, we got the plumb bob on. Bring it over here, and I'll look up to the center and see it's tied up there. Then comes all the way down here. It's still swinging, but we need to try to get it to stop as much as possible. You don't want your plumb bob sitting on the ground. If it's sitting on the ground, it may not be. It may be over here, right? Clocked a little bit. So you really want it kind of just right above the ground. And it may be hard for it to completely stop just because there's a slight breeze out here. It looks like right about here. So I'm gonna make an X here, and that is the center point for our rim. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is hop back up on the ladder, untie this. I'm gonna attach the plumb bob to this corner of the backboard, make my mark on the ground, and then this corner, and mark it on the ground, and that will give me 2 reference points, and also give me a line that is parallel to the backboard. All right, we've got our reference points here. We've got the one right there. So I moved this over so it's sitting on the ground. Now, the center of the rim, and then our other backboard right there as well. And since I have my 3 points, what I want to do next is I want to start kind of doing this paint section. So the inside to inside is 12 feet wide, and then I want to start marking my free throw line. So I know that's 15 feet from the backboard. So what I'm going to do is take that mark that we made there, measure out 15 feet, put a mark. Same thing on the other side, measure out 15 feet, make a mark, and that will allow me to then reference both these points, create a line between the two, mark that. I need to go 6 feet each way, right? Since this is 12 feet wide, center point 6 feet, so I need to go 6 feet that way, 6 feet this way, and then I can start building my 2 parallel lines up here to meet the free throw line. So that's what's next. All right, I got my tape measure here. I think I forgot to mention this in the very beginning, but you do need a tape measure. I'm gonna stretch it out 15 feet. And that's it. I'm gonna grab a different tape measure because this one does not want to lock in place. All right, got my tape measure. Also got a straight edge 6-foot ruler here. You don't have to use a ruler. You can use just a board or something that's long and straight will be fine. So I am setting it on my my X's straight across because I want to measure up to that point. So I'm bisecting the two X's that I made from my backboard, and now I'm going to measure up from those 15 feet. Stretch this out to 15 feet here, and it does not want to stay. What is it with tape measures? This is the second tape measure. It does not want to stay when I pull it out to 15 feet. It's supposed to auto lock, and that is not auto locking. I will be back again with another tape measure. Lowe's, Harbor Freight, you're not helping me out here. We're back with tape measure number 3. This time I'm going with this Chameleon. This one actually has a positive lock on it instead of an auto lock. So this should work. All right, back to our spot for the third time. And we are going to extend this 15 feet. And all right, there's 15 feet. Come up here and make sure it touches the little straight edge. Okay, and now I'm gonna come back here and grab my pencil and mark 15 feet. And now we're gonna go to the other side here and do the same thing. Come up 15 feet, try to eyeball that as best as possible in terms of straightness. That looks pretty good. We'll square it up once we get the lines that run perpendicular to this. All right, I got our 2 lines here. 1, 2, at 15 feet. Now I'm going to grab that straight edge and come up here and draw a line across where 15 feet is. And that will be the top of the free throw line. Hopefully I'm still in the frame here. But I'm going to set this on the line. Now this should be 12 feet across, right? But right now it's just a reference line, so it's just going to be the 6 feet that I have right now here. All right, I like this red pencil too. Let me bring you in here and show you what that looks like. It's really showing up well on this blacktop. So hopefully it translates to the camera there. It's really bright out, so it's hard to see my screen on my phone. But now what we're going to do is I'm going to find the center point of that based on the center point of our basketball goal. I'm going to measure out 6 feet that way, 6 feet that way, and then we can start running back towards the baseline. Right, I'm going to continue working on that free throw line. Got my center point here. I'm going to measure 6 feet to that center line. It is right about here. And then 6 feet across this way. This is fun on your knees, let me tell you. Yeah. All right, what we're working with now is we're going to work with the 3-point line all the way around, which is our radius. The radius of that is going to be from the center line of our dole, which we already measured, or center line of the rim, I'm sorry, 19 feet 9 inches to the top. So what I did is I grabbed the board I showed you earlier with a nail in it, and this is my pivot point, right? So this is right on top of the X that I made underneath. I put some weight on it. This is, again, where I said earlier in the video where it'd be easier with 2 people, but I've got that braced pretty well, so when I turn on it vertically or laterally, it's not going to want to move. I'm going to take my string, or my paracord in this case, attach it to the tip of the nail. I'm going to extend it all the way out here. Actually, what I'm probably first going to do is take my tape measure and measure off that point 19 feet 9 inches, get my reference line somewhere out here where it is, and then stretch my string from that point to this point, tie my pencil to it, make sure I'm at that mark, that 9-inch mark, and then use the string and pivot all the way around to get the outside of my 3-point line. All right, I'm gonna get that set up and then we'll check back in. I changed my mind. All right, so what I think I'm gonna do is take my tape measure, and it has a good little hook right here on the end that's hooked onto my pencil. So instead of using the string, then what I'm going to do is just hold my pencil at the 19 foot 9 inch mark. This is just an example here, and just hold it on there and just pull it across instead of messing with the string. I think that'll be the easiest way to do it. I could be wrong, so we're going to try it first with the just using the pencil right next to it. I'm going to sharpen this pencil real quick. It seems to be the story of the day is whittle your pencil down. I grab my other pencils, load those up in my pocket, and I'm gonna start up here at the top. And hopefully you can still see me, but I'm going to, let's see, come to 19.9. I'm gonna lock my tape measure at that mark, hold. Okay, that didn't work. Let's see if I didn't lock it hard enough. And there we go, lock it all the way down. And drag it. Let's see. All right, nope, not working. It's wanting to kind of pull the, even though I have this locked all the way, it's wanting to pull the tape measure out some. So I don't think I'm gonna get a very consistent line that way. So we're going back to the original plan, which is the string. All right, I'm grabbing my paracord. Like I said, you can use kind of most strings here. You just don't want something that's going to be very flexible in terms of elasticity, because the more elastic it is, the more it's going to stretch if you put more tension on it. And they are hiding the end of this somewhere in here. There it is. Okay. We're going to stretch this out, tie a little loop on the end down here. And hook that over our nail. All right, this is looking good. I can pull on that, just a little bit of tension. It's not wanting to move. And now I'm going to grab my knife. I'm going to cut this and make sure I have my pencil still. Okay. All right, I'm going to cut this a little long. Because what I want to do is I want to tie a loop in here for my pencil. So the loop needs to be right about there. I would overshoot this a little bit long, and I'll show you why here in a second. So if it's too short, then you have to take your knots back out. but if it's, again, like I said, hopefully I'm still in frame. Okay, so let me grab you all, show you what I did here. All right, come over, grab our string. So we got it anchored at that point down there. What I did is I tied a little loop down here on the end, brought a pencil to right in like that. Then what I'm going to do is, here's my reference point right up here. I'm just going to hold this, and hopefully I can do it with you all here. And drag it. Maybe we kind of go back and forth a couple times to get the right kind of feel for it. But that will at least give you the outline, and that's already what, maybe 8 feet, and already went through one pencil. So let's grab another, stick it back through our loop, put it on our point, and drag it. This will at least give us a reference point for our tape. There's another pencil. It's a long pencil. Oh. And we'll do that all the way around. We'll drag that string all the way across. Then we will come back and tape that. That at least gives us kind of a reference point. Like I said, we'll smooth it out with the tape where it's a little jagged up here. I tried the tape measure. It didn't work, but that'll be fine. We're back with more pencils. I'm glad I bought the 10-pack. I almost only bought 2, thinking, oh, that'll be plenty. But for maybe $1 more, I bought the 10-pack. And then I also double sharpened both sides of the pencil. So theoretically, that should last me twice as long, right? All right, did this in here, and our mark. Worked pretty well here. I have to go over it a couple times, but that's okay. Flip the pencil over. And I'm just going to speed this process up because it's going to take me a little while of bending over and yelling at my pencils. So I'm just going to fast forward here. First line of the 3-point line is done. Get you off here and take a look at it. It's going to be fun trying to paint this little line, or that crack, I should say. But overall, it turned out pretty well. This gives me a good enough line to be able to work off of. I can fix that with the tape. I think it'll look good. Let me get you all back here in the tripod, and I will crawl on my hands and knees and tape this whole thing here. All right, time to tape. I'm going to speed this up so you're not watching me struggle the whole time. All right, pause. I'm grabbing a towel to put underneath my knees. All right, you know what's better than a towel? Knee pads. I found some knee pads in one of the totes in my barn. I forgot I had. Wish I would have remembered I had these earlier. So, oh yeah, this is much better. While you're at the store, just some knee pads. You won't regret it. These are nothing fancy. These are cheap. I think actually these came from Home Depot. But this black top is probably close to 100 degrees right now. So this is a lifesaver at this moment. All right, back to fast forwarding. All right, let's take a look. So it's pretty good. So it worked out well. Like I said, you want to use the thinner. This is the 0.94 inch blue Scotch tape, painter's tape. And I was able to kind of pull it tight, then push down with the other hand to make the radius. It's not crinkled. It's a pretty straight line. I think it turned out pretty well. All right, so what I'm going to do next is come over here to our paper. Is I want to go ahead and do this line right here. This little semicircle that meets the 3-point line that has a 6-foot diameter. So I'm going to measure up 6 feet where it meets the 3-point line and go ahead and mark that. And then I will probably come back and do the 2-inch marker all the way around for my 3-point line. All right, I'm actually going to change the order of that. I'm going to take my framing square, as it's also 2 inches wide, and mark the inside line of the 3-point line. So I'm just going to kind of crawl around here and make every few inches or so. I'm just going to make a line just to be able to reference my my tape to, and then I'll come back and do a tape on the inside. So some of this is going to be eyeballing it just to make sure it's, you know, following the same radius, but it's only 2 inches apart, so that shouldn't be too hard to do. All right, I'm gonna continue crawling around here and marking this, and I'm gonna start fast forwarding now. All right, got all my lines marked for the inside of the 3-point line. I'm gonna go grab some gloves because it is getting too hot on my hands down there. Be right back. All right, it is time to start taping the inside of the 3-point line. So we're gonna start over here again. Got our glove for the hand that's putting down the tape, because that's the other one that's really touching the black top. All right, time to put this in a time lapse. All right, we're back after a short lunch break. So let's take some of my tape over here. Came up a little bit just because there's a little bit of dirt and stuff right there. I wasn't able to get up. I probably needed to scrub that a little bit and then blow it off. I'll just cut that tape off there and add a new piece. But I'm ready to do this radius up here by the 3-point line and the free throw line. So I took my board that was down there with a nail and moved it up here to the center of the free throw line. Sorry, I got more tape that just blew up there, so I'm gonna have to retape that as well. But this radius here has a 6-foot radius on it. So what I did is I shortened my string here to 6 feet to reach the end of the corner here, all the way to that corner, and then I will drag this all the way across, reach up to here, and then all the way across, and then where these lines intersect, I will end up cutting the tape just so that they blend into one. So set this back up, and we'll work on that next. All right, there we go. Get that line marked, and now I'm going to tape it off and also fix the other lines of tape that are starting to come up. All right, now we'll speed this part up for you. All right, now we're gonna mark our 2-inch line on the inside. So we'll do that next. All right, I made a mistake on both sides here. I put the tape on the outside of the line, and it should have been on the inside of the line. I realized when I was starting to measure this 2-inch line here that it did not line up with the vertical one here. So I knew something was off. So I just quickly moved that, and all is good. So now I need to move this side. All right, time to tape that one off. I got these lines done here. I just had to come back and cut these intersecting lines out. I'll do that after I do the blocks, or the where you stand during a free throw. So we're gonna add the little lines here on the edge of the paint on both sides. Let's come over to their pictures and show you what I'm looking at. So it's, hopefully you can see this here in the shade. It's these here. So I need to measure out these blocks. They're all, I think, let's see, here it is over here on the side. That's why I like both these pictures. So this one is 1 foot wide, 8 inches deep. Then all of these are 8 inches deep, but only 2 inches wide. And then we got our measurement. So the first one is 15 inches 15 inches up and over to the side, and it looks like they are 3 inches apart from inside to inside. So I'm going to sit back up here on the tripod, fix my tape like I said, and then start marking the blocks. All right, I'm starting to mark the box. I've measured up 3 feet from our reference line down here up this way, 3 feet, and then also at 4 feet, because this first block here is a foot wide. So I need to mark out a foot. And man, this stuff is getting hot. All right, there's one block. Come over to the other side. And we're going to measure 3 feet up, make a line, 2 lines, and then measure 4 feet up, make 2 lines for our reference point. Whew. All right, there's our first block. Sharpen some more pencils, and then we'll move up to our other blocks, which are 3 feet apart, and then it looks like they are 2 inches wide. And now that I think about it, I may have just measured that one wrong. So they should only be, okay, yeah, I measured incorrectly. So what I did is I made this block 1 foot by 1 foot, which is incorrect. This block should be 1 foot wide and 8 inches deep. So I need to remark these at 8 inches. So I'm glad I caught that. I thought this looked a little big initially, but that's why we have plans and we double check them. So 8 inches and 8 inches. All right, that looks better. That's an appropriate block. Okay. Same thing on this side. Did a foot wide, but only 8 inches deep. And once I get these all marked out here, I will show you what I did instead of just talking about it. All right, now I got to measure up 3 feet, put a line, 3 feet, put a line, 3 feet, put a line. So I'm going to do that on every one here, and there should be a total of 1, 2, 3 standing lines and 1 block. So let's go ahead and start doing that. Now let me just verify too that 3 feet is the inside to inside dimension. So let's see. Yes. So we want to measure 3 feet from the edge, the edge of the block that we just did. So we want to come down from there 3 feet. So here we are at 3 feet. And then that's going to be 2 inches wide. So we mark 36 and 38 inches. And then we grab our framing square. And we line this up nice and square. And since this is 2 inches wide, that works out well. And we will come up to 8 inches. And we will square this off. All right. Sorry if that's loud in the microphone. And we will again come to the edge of that and measure 36 inches and 38 inches. And measure up 8 inches. All right, I need to take a break, sharpen some pencils, and grab a drink. All right, one side done, one side to go. All right, I got all my lines made, so now it's time to tape them off. All right, everything's taped off. Let's get you a quick look here of what it looks like. Like I said, I still need to cut the intersections, but this gives you an idea. So here's the lines on the free throw line. These lines get cut here. You can see where I messed up initially, and made it 12 by 12 instead of 12 by 8. Same thing over here. I messed up. You can see my line. That's corrected. Got my lines here. So what I'm going to do now is I think I'm going to first fix that piece of tape there. I'm going to measure off this line and put a kind of out of bounds line all the way across here. Just kind of again, it's not the true measurement because my grass line comes up to here, but it at least would give us something that we can kind of play off. So I'm gonna do that line real quick. Go ahead and cut these intersecting lines out, clean up a little bit, and probably crawl around on my hands and knees again. Make sure all the tape is pushed nice and flat, so I don't have any kind of squeeze out underneath. I want nice crisp lines as best as I can with this blacktop, but I'm gonna plan on doing that next, and then we'll be ready for the exciting part, which is paint. And I'm just using a utility knife here to get these lines nice and crisp. All right, good thing I have a third roll of tape. All right, new roll. We'll start over here at this end this time. Apologies, my phone and microphone both decided that they had enough with this video and ran out of battery. So apologies if it's a little disjointed from the last one, but let me show you here what I had finished on the last part of the video. So I've got all my intersections cut. I've got my baseline done. I've got all the blocks cut out. I went through and just smashed everything down with my foot, just kind of pushed down on the blacktop. Everything's cut out over here. And There's the end of it. All right, I'm going to set you back up on the tripod. I'm probably going to turn off my microphone because it's about to die again, and I need to charge my phone while I video here. So I'll just fast forward me painting. Again, the paint I'm using is Valspar Zone Marking Paint. It's made for parking lots. I've got a 2-inch foam roller here. Normally I would want a thicker nap roller, but the smallest I could find was a 4-inch. So this is actually for cabinets and for doors, but it is the perfect 2-inch size that I need. So we're going to roll with that. If it doesn't work, I have some brushes. Where I have big dips from cracks, I got one here, I've got one there, and I've got a couple down on the other side. I'm just going to kind of go over those with the roller gently and then come back with a brush and really kind of square those off. All right, I'm going to set you back up here and play some music and fast forward this and we'll get our first coat of paint on. All right, I'm dishing this roller. It's just not, doesn't keep enough paint in it. Like I said, I probably do need a heavier nap. So I'm actually going to switch to a paintbrush. All right, I got my paintbrush. Switching over to that. I think this will go better. All right, we've got the free throw and the paint done here. It's looking pretty good. It's definitely going to need 2 coats. This paint's pretty thin, and the paintbrush is definitely the way to go. There's just so many cracks and chips that make it really difficult, or would make it really difficult to get a roller in. So I'm going to continue here. This took me, I think, about a half an hour so far. A little bit of stoppage to grab a drink, but it's looking pretty good. I'm going to continue with the 3-point line, and then we'll check back in. All right, we've got the 3-point line done. So let's take a look at it. Looking pretty good. All right, I'm gonna finish up the baseline and then start working on a second coat. Let me bring you in here and show you how well this second coat looks. So this is kind of what the first coat looks like. This asphalt is definitely very absorbent, and then you can start seeing where second coat looks so much better, especially if you come down here to the big block. You can see it covers really well, and actually this the second coat is just going a lot faster too, since the ground's not so as porous. It just coats a lot easier. So I'll put you back up here and keep going. All right, we are all done. I'm gonna clean up, let this dry a little bit. It dries pretty quick, but I'm gonna let it dry some more before I start pulling off the tape, and then we'll see how it looks. All right, now for the fun part, time to pull the tape off. Looks like it bled through a little bit, but that's all right. It's kind of expected with the texture of the asphalt. If I get real anal about it, I can come out and kind of scratch that off, and it'll come right off. It's just latex paint, so pull this off. All right, let's do a big section here. Let's do the freezer one. That turned out well. Let's start down here. All right, I'll have to wait this is looking. I'm gonna finish pulling off the rest of the tape that I just now stepped in. And we'll do one final look over. I got all the tape off and see how it looks. We are done. Here's how it turned out. Like I said, a little bit of bleed through. A little bit. If you had a smoother surface, if this was newer asphalt, or if you were doing it on concrete, you probably would have less bleed through than what I currently have. If you're really concerned about it, then what I would suggest is after you do your taping, use some black paint to use as your base coat. And that way, if it bleeds through, it'll at least be black on your asphalt. And then you can follow up with the white or yellow or whatever color you choose for your top layers. Once you put down that black, it will seal that tape, so you won't have any bleed through for the additional layers that are on top. But overall, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. Thank you all for watching. If this video helped you out or you enjoyed it, I'd appreciate a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.